Have you ever told someone a secret and later felt something was off, like you just handed them a weapon? Have you ever shared a small detail only to realize too late that it opened a door you never meant to unlock? Or worse, have you ever trusted the wrong person and watched your world slowly unravel, not from betrayal, but from your own words? Some information protects you. Other information paints a target on your back. And the most dangerous truths in life aren't the ones other people hide from you. They're the ones you whisper out loud in moments of false comfort, shallow connection, or casual pride, not realizing you've just lit a flare in the dark, and someone, somewhere, is watching. It doesn't take recklessness to put yourself in danger. You don't need to break a rule or act carelessly. Sometimes the only mistake you make is wanting to be seen, to be known, to be understood. And in that moment of openness, of vulnerability, you give away something you can't take back. We live in a world now where silence is rare and privacy is power, where every post, every photo, every offhanded remark becomes data, and every piece of data is a signal. To the wrong eyes, it's not just information, it's a map of your life. And worst of all, you're the one drawing it. So let me tell you what this video really is. It's not just 5 safety tips. It's not even just a warning. It's a wake-up call, a cold, clear look at what's happening in plain sight. There are 5 things you must never reveal. 5 secrets that, once spoken, can be traced, twisted, and turned against you. These aren't the big obvious secrets. They're the subtle, invisible ones. The kind you don't even realize you're giving away until it's too late. And I promise you, if you skip ahead, if you look away for even one moment, you might miss the one thing that could have saved you. So stay with me, stay sharp, stay awake. And if you're serious about protecting yourself and the people you love, hit that subscribe button now. Not for me, for your future self, the one who'll thank you for being 5 minutes smarter today. Now, let's begin. Imagine this. You just bought a new house. You're standing in front of it, smiling, keys in hand, proud, fulfilled. You take a picture, caption it, "Finally a homeowner." And just like that, you've told the world where to find you, what you have, and what you're worth. What felt like joy just became bait. Let's talk about the first secret you should never share. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever posted a photo of your brand new house keys? Smiling, standing proudly in front of your freshly painted door. Caption, "Finally a homeowner." It feels innocent, right? It feels like joy, like progress, like something worth sharing. Because we've been taught that milestones deserve to be celebrated out loud. That success means showing. That being proud means being public. But here's the Stoic truth the world never taught you. Every time you share, you signal. And every signal leaves a trail. We live in a culture obsessed with exposure. Social media rewards the loudest voice in the room, not the wisest. We're conditioned to believe that silence equals insignificance, that if no one sees your success, it somehow doesn't exist. So we post a new car, a promotion, a photo of that dream vacation you finally afforded. We share our glow-ups, our breakthroughs, our upgrades, and in doing so, we slowly, quietly paint a portrait of exactly what we have and exactly what someone can take. A close friend of mine, let's call her Rachel, finally bought her first home in her early 30s. Single, ambitious. She worked her way up with grit and sacrifice. She was proud. She should have been. So she posted a few photos. Nothing dramatic, just joyful. Her keys in her hand, a welcome mat, a shot of the front porch, with the street number just barely visible in the background. Within 2 months, 2 break-in attempts. One while she was out for the weekend, the other while she was at work. Rachel didn't live in a dangerous neighborhood. She wasn't flashy, but she had unknowingly marked herself as someone who had something worth stealing. And more importantly, maybe not enough protection to keep it. That's the thing about financial information. It's not just what you say, it's what you reveal without realizing. That casual mention of your salary, that post about your debt-free journey, that humble brag about your year-end bonus. To your friends, it's just a life update. To someone watching quietly in the shadows, it's a breadcrumb trail, one that leads straight to your front door. We like to think we're just sharing moments, but we're not. We're broadcasting opportunity, not to loved ones, not to well-wishers, but to opportunists. And here's the Stoic reminder no one gives you. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. Sometimes the danger isn't a shadowy figure in a back alley. It's the coworker who overhears your raise, the acquaintance at that dinner party, the stranger who noticed your watch and started calculating your worth. Criminals don't go after billionaires. They're too protected, too complicated, too high risk. But you're visible, you're accessible. You've got just enough to be worth targeting and not enough to defend like a fortress. You post your vacation photos while you're still gone. You flash your new tech. You celebrate your wins in public without ever questioning who's watching. Every boast is a breadcrumb. Every "look what I got" is a beacon, and not everyone sees it as motivation. Some see it as an invitation. The Stoics lived by a different code. They didn't share to impress. They didn't speak to be praised. They believed in quiet strength, because true power doesn't demand attention. It demands control over your desires, your speech, your visibility. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free," but that freedom comes from what you guard, not from what you flaunt. When you embrace Stoicism, you start asking better questions. Why do I feel the need to share this? Is it connection or validation, expression or ego? You begin to realize that privacy is armor, not a wall to hide behind, but a shield that lets you walk safely through the world. So what's the answer? It's simple, but it's not easy. Be intentional. You don't have to lie, you don't need to vanish, but you do need to become more selective about what you share and who you share it with. When someone asks how much you make, smile, pivot, say, "Enough to be comfortable." When you hit a big goal at work, celebrate, but only with those who've earned access to your inner circle. When you buy something valuable, resist the urge to post. If you must, wait. Let time pass. Protect the moment. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your achievements. You don't have to make your milestones a slideshow. You are not obligated to explain your lifestyle. Because the more people know about your money, the more vulnerable you become. Not just to theft, but to envy, manipulation, and even legal complications you never saw coming. Treat your financial life the way you treat your ATMPIN. You wouldn't scream it across a crowded street. So why would you broadcast it to thousands online? Even in whispers, even with pride, it's still a code. And in this world, survival often comes down to one decision. What will you protect, and what will you give away? Oversharing feels harmless until it isn't. Once it's out there, You no longer own the story. Someone else does, and they get to choose how it ends. You've probably heard, "Don't post your vacation photos until you're back." But what if it's not just about theft? What if the real danger isn't losing your stuff, but telling the wrong person that you're not home and won't be? In the next part, we'll talk about your location and why where you are might be the most dangerous detail you ever share. Stay with me. What comes next might chill you more than anything we've said so far. Have you ever felt a chill crawl up your spine? Not because of what you saw, but because of what someone else knew about you that they shouldn't? It's the kind of realization that doesn't come all at once. It creeps in like fog, software quiet, unsettling. An old coworker casually mentions the beach you visited last weekend. You pause. You never told them, but you did post a story. You tagged the location, and now they know. You smiled in a photo. They saw coordinates. You were just living your life, but in that moment, they were mapping it. We've been conditioned to believe that sharing is connection, that every check-in, every tag, every filtered sunset means we're alive, present, thriving. But in reality, we're slowly training ourselves to sacrifice privacy for approval. We think we're posting memories, but what we're really doing is broadcasting absence, and absence is an invitation. Let me tell you about Maya. She had just gotten engaged. Her laugh was contagious, her energy magnetic. She wasn't naive, just open-hearted, generous, alive. Her fiancé surprised her with a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe. She shared the journey, the highway sunsets, the snowfall outside the cabin window, the selfies wrapped in scarves, laughing in mid-step. She captioned one, "No cell signal, no worries." But someone else was watching. Someone she'd cut ties with months earlier, a man she once trusted, until his messages got too intense, too personal, too invasive. She blocked him, but he didn't disappear. He went silent and watched. By day 2 of her trip, her apartment, 3 hours away, was no longer empty. It was violated. No broken windows, no alarms triggered, but everything had been touched. Drawers, undergarments, jewelry boxes. He didn't steal much, but he left behind something colder than fear. The knowledge that someone had been inside her life, uninvited. It wasn't about theft, it was about access. It was about presence, where it wasn't given. And Maya? She didn't hand him a key, she handed him her timeline. That's the danger most people overlook. It's not always about what people take, it's about what they're allowed to feel they own. Power, control, familiarity they never earned. And we give it to them. Every time we tag a location in real time, we don't just share a moment, we publish our absence. You think you're just letting friends know you're enjoying your life, but there's always someone watching for a different reason. Someone who isn't cheering, someone who isn't liking your post with a smile, someone who's calculating. And here's what the data tells us. Over 78% of modern burglars use social media to determine their next target. They don't have to guess if you're home. You told them. You told them when you left. You told them how long you'd be gone. You showed them the front of your house. You gave them the exact moment to walk in, undisturbed. And this goes deeper than theft. This is about patterns. That sunrise jog you take every Tuesday, that Thursday late shift, the Friday drinks at your usual rooftop bar. You post it once, then again, and now someone has your routine. And to someone patient, a routine is a doorway. a rhythm waiting to be broken. So why do we do it? Why are we addicted to telling the world exactly where we are, in real time? Because we crave connection. Because being seen feels like being loved. Because if nobody knows we're living, we fear maybe we aren't. That's the trap. And it's one the Stoics warned about centuries ago. This subtle hunger to be acknowledged. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." But how free are you when the world knows your every move before you make it? The Stoics understood something modern life forgot. That joy doesn't require an audience. That peace doesn't need validation. That experience loses no value when kept private. They lived deliberately, not for applause, but for alignment, and in that silence was safety. So here's what to do, not out of fear, but from clarity. Delay your sharing, post your beach day after you're home, share the dinner spot after you've left. Talk about your trips only with people you trust with a house key. Stop tagging real-time locations. Stop assuming that everyone in your feed is rooting for you. Some of them are just tracking you. And here's the truth most people can't swallow. Caution isn't paranoia. It's intelligence. It's seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it were. Yes, joy's beautiful, but shared recklessly, even joy can become a liability. So protect your peace, not by hiding, but by knowing when to be seen and when to stay unseen. When you take control of your visibility, you don't become invisible. You become unpredictable. And that is power. You make your life sacred again, a temple, not a stage. And the most dangerous people in this world, they don't force their way in. They wait for your invitation. Your location tag, that's the open door. Privacy is your modern fortress, and the strongest defenses are the ones no one sees coming. Let your silence confuse them. Let your timing protect you. Let your movements belong only to you. That's not fear, that's stoicism, in action. If this made your heart beat just a little faster, stay right here. Because what's coming next isn't about where you are, it's about what you say protects you, and how that very protection can become the bait. Let's talk about the next mistake, and why talking about your security might be the most insecure thing you'll ever do. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, a place where you breathe deeper, where your guard softens, where the world's noise fades, and safety wraps around you like a second skin. But what if the thing you say protects you most is the very thing that makes you a target? Let me ask you this. Have you ever proudly shared your new home security system? Maybe you just installed smart cameras, motion sensors, a sleek new alarm. You felt empowered, like you just armored your castle. So you posted about it, snapped a picture next to the keypad, captioned it, "Finally upgraded, not today, burglars." But here's the uncomfortable truth. You didn't scare anyone off. You just gave them a blueprint. In today's hyper-connected world, the walls no longer have ears. The entire internet does. And in a culture where sharing is second nature, even the most innocent detail can become a crack in your armor. Let me tell you about Greg. He was a tech enthusiast, smart, cautious, a good guy. After moving into a new house with his wife and daughter, he invested in a top-tier safe, biometric lock, hidden placement. Inside it, family heirlooms, cash, a vintage watch from his grandfather. He felt proud, protected. He joined a home renovation group online, and in a casual comment, he mentioned the safe, the brand, the lock, even its location. Tucked behind my suit's Bond style, he joked. It felt harmless, relatable, like bonding. A few weeks later, Greg and his family went out of town. They came home to a house untouched, except for one thing. The safe was gone. No forced entry, no smashed windows, no chaos. Just one quiet, calculated disappearance. It didn't take a hacker. It didn't take a master criminal. Just someone patient enough to listen, to wait, to act. Here's the part people don't like to hear. Not all threats are impulsive. Many are strategic. And the more you talk, the more data you give away. You think you're building community, but sometimes you're building a playbook for the wrong person. Some people overshare their defenses because they're proud. Others downplay them completely. At a dinner party, "Hey, nothing worth stealing at my place." In a Facebook group, "Never needed a security system." It sounds humble, unassuming, like what's the big deal? But here's the Stoic perspective. Every word reveals something. When you say you don't have a dog, no alarm, no neighbor watching the place, that's not just a joke, that's an invitation. And criminals, they don't seek challenge, they seek convenience. Think about how water flows. It doesn't punch through rock, it finds the crack and slips right in. We often speak out of pride, or to feel competent, or simply to be understood. But in that moment of explaining, of just sharing, we forget. Security is not a story to entertain. It's a silence that protects. The Stoics mastered the art of restraint. Epictetus once said, "Be silent for the most part, or speak only what is necessary, and in few words." That wasn't just a social tip, it was a survival principle. Because real power isn't about what you show, it's about what you withhold. A fortress isn't strong because people see its defenses. It's strong because no one can figure them out. You can have the best locks, cameras, sensors, weapons, but if you narrate them to the world, they're not defenses, they're a checklist. And someone out there is checking boxes. We do this all the time, more than we realize. We give house tours online, we show off kitchen remodels, we casually mention how the bedroom's in the back, far from the street. We joke about keeping valuables in nightstands, or where we hide our emergency cash, or where the gun is stored. And it feels harmless, like just talking. But to the wrong listener, it's intelligence gathering. You don't need to be paranoid, you just need to be precise. Stop offering maps to your vulnerabilities. Stop turning your fortress into a guided tour. If someone asks about your security system, smile, shrug, say, "We're covered." That's all. If they ask about valuables, keep it vague. Change the subject. They don't need the details because details are dangerous. Real safety doesn't need a stage. It needs silence. And silence, my friend, is Stoic gold. Here's the question you must now carry. Are you sharing for connection or are you sharing for control? Because the more you reveal, the more power you give away. So what do you do instead? You let your protection speak through invisibility. Don't post pictures of your alarm system. Don't joke about your safe on Reddit. Don't give strangers the layout of your home. Let uncertainty be your defense. Let silence be your security camera. Let privacy be your moat. We live in a world that rewards oversharing and punishes discretion. But you don't have to play that game. You can walk the Stoic path, where restraint is strength and mystery is protection. Your home is your sanctuary. It should feel like a fortress, not a stage. So the next time you're tempted to post, explain, or joke, ask yourself, Am I reinforcing my walls, or am I quietly tearing them down? Because in this world, the more they know, the less safe you are. And the less they know, the more control you keep. If this made you look at your own home differently, good. That's awareness. That's growth. But we're not done, because the next mistake isn't about alarms or locks. It's about something far more personal, your weaknesses. And when those fall into the wrong hands, the damage isn't just physical, it's psychological. Stay close. We're about to get personal. What if I told you the thing most likely to hurt you isn't your enemy's weapon, it's your own words, spoken with honesty, shared with hope, said in the name of connection, and yet they become the exact blueprint for your destruction. We live in a world where people are praised for being open, where vulnerability is glorified, where oversharing is dressed up as bravery. But here's the truth the internet won't tell you. Not everyone who listens deserves to hear your story. Some will smile, nod, offer sympathy, and then quietly weaponize your weakness. Jordan was a soft-spoken man in his 50s. He'd recently completed chemotherapy. His journey was brutal, but he made it through. He shared his experience in a local community group. He spoke about pain, perseverance, healing. He hoped to inspire others, and many applauded his courage. But among the applause were eyes, not inspired, not moved, just calculating. Jordan lived alone. He often mentioned feeling tired. One night after taking his medication, he went to bed early. Someone broke in. There was no confrontation, no smashed glass, just a silent invasion. They didn't want confrontation. They didn't need to. They already knew. Jordan couldn't fight back because he had told them. That's the brutal truth no one wants to face. When you reveal your vulnerabilities, physical, emotional, financial, psychological, you're not just telling a story, you're providing a manual, and not everyone reads that manual with kindness. Sometimes you think you're inspiring, but what someone else sees is an opening. You don't have to be a public figure. You just have to be visible. And once you are, every detail you release becomes a piece of your puzzle. I live alone. My mom's struggling with dementia. My teenage son walks home alone at 4 p.m. My sister's wheelchair-bound, but independent. Innocent, true, honest, but in the wrong hands, those facts become strategies. We forget that manipulators don't always kick in the door. They often walk in through words. They listen. They observe. They wait for you to get comfortable. And when you do, you start offering them tools, not knives or guns, but information. Information that bypasses security cameras. Information that no alarm can detect. Information that goes straight to your heart. That's how real psychological attacks begin. Not with violence, but with insight. A predator who hears that you fear confrontation, they test your boundaries slowly. Someone who knows you hate being alone, they isolate you from others and become your only comfort. If you ever confide that you were once cheated on, they might manipulate your trust and gaslight your perception. These are not theoretical fears. They're real. They happen every day. Not in dramatic scenes, but in quiet invasions of your emotional space. The Stoics understood something timeless, that some truths are too sacred for strangers, that not every truth is meant to be told, especially not to everyone. Crispus once said, "The wise man will speak correctly and with restraint. He will confess not to everyone, but only to those suited to hear it." That single idea could protect you more than 100 locks. Because in truth, Your vulnerability is not weakness. It is sacred, it is powerful, and in the wrong hands, it is explosive. Let's be clear. Sharing is not the problem. Lack of discernment is. It's natural to want to open up. We all want to be seen, to be understood, to feel less alone in our pain. But the world has convinced us that public healing is the highest form of courage. It isn't. It's exposure. What you post online, a childhood trauma, a chronic illness, a family struggle, doesn't vanish into a caring void. It gets collected, indexed, screen captured, and sometimes it gets used. Not by a friend, not even by an enemy, but by someone who sees your openness as an opportunity. You may think, it's fine, I have nothing to hide. But that's not the Stoic way. The Stoic path says, you don't protect things because they're shameful. You protect them because they're precious. So here's what you must start doing. You stop broadcasting weakness. You stop explaining your pain to people who haven't earned your trust. You keep it sacred, private, selective, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. When someone asks about your mental health, don't lie, but don't tell the world everything. When you're grieving, heal in spaces that honor silence, not applause. When you feel broken, find the few people who carry your story like it's made of glass. And let's not forget, sometimes we don't just endanger ourselves, we endanger those we love. You post about your elderly father who lives alone, and now strangers know his routine. You talk about your child's school schedule online, and someone's listening. You casually mention that your wife works late and you're often home alone. It feels like storytelling, but to someone with intent, it's reconnaissance. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were intentional. They cried in silence. They processed in solitude. They chose carefully who got access to their pain. And that's what made them powerful. So what should you do now? You pause, you audit, you go back and look at what you've shared. Not just on social media, but in conversations, in casual moments, in spaces that felt safe enough. And you begin again with intention. Let your story be yours. Don't let validation steal your safety. Because here's the quiet truth no one tells you. You can heal without broadcasting. You can connect without exposing. You can be strong without performing. The next time you feel the urge to tell someone your story, ask yourself, have they earned it? And if the answer is no, let silence be your strength. Let mystery be your protection. Let your inner life remain yours. If this stirred something in you, if you've ever regretted what you shared, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're just waking up. But we're not done yet. Because the final mistake is the most invisible one of all. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your house. It's not even about your loved ones. It's about your digital DNA and how the tiniest things you share, a nickname, a street name, a photo from high school, can lead to your identity being stolen. Let's go there. Stay close. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you share is the thing you don't even think about. Not your trauma, not your address, not even your money. It's that one random, fun fact you drop in passing, that one harmless photo from your childhood, that cute story about your first pet, or the nickname your family still calls you. These seem meaningless, but to someone who knows what to look for, they're the keys to your identity. We think identity theft is about hacking, about someone in a dark basement typing code, breaking firewalls. But the real danger, it's social engineering. It's the art of piecing together little things, scattered across posts, bios, captions, conversations, until suddenly, they know more about you than you realize, and you didn't even know you told them. Let me give you a picture. Your bank's security question: what's your mother's maiden name? You've never posted it, but you did upload an old wedding photo of your parents. Someone zooms in, sees the invitation on the table. Now they know. Another question: what was the name of your first pet? You never said it directly, but 3 years ago you posted, "Still miss my sweet Max every day." And in the comments, your cousin tagged it, "He was such a good boy." Now it's confirmed. Piece by piece, detail by detail, you handed over the answers. Not in a breach, not through malware, but through memories, through emotion. You thought you were sharing your life. What you were really doing was unlocking your own profile. People often ask, why would anyone care about my info? I'm not rich, I'm nobody. But here's what you don't get. You don't have to be somebody to be valuable. You just have to have a bank account, a phone number, a social security number, an email address. And now they can become you. Your name, your birth date, your zip code, your school mascot. You've posted them all, one on a birthday post, one when you reminisced about high school days, one when you did a get-to-know-me story on Instagram. None of it looked dangerous, but to someone trained in manipulation, it's gold. Here's how it happens. They gather data. They test password recovery options. They answer your security questions using what you publicly shared. They reset your passwords. They impersonate you. They apply for credit. They access your cloud backups. They sell your information. And by the time you realize something's off, they've already taken everything. Not just your money, your digital fingerprint, your reputation, your access to your own life. Let me tell you about Elise. She was a nurse, smart, caring. She worked hard, lived modestly. Her Instagram was full of nature photos, occasional selfies, and some sweet throwbacks, like the one she posted from a childhood birthday party. The cake had her name. In the background was a framed certificate with her school name. She captioned it, "Always loved Lady and the Tramp. Shout out to my first pup, Bella." It was a sweet post, but to someone watching, that post gave them her full name, her childhood pet, her school, her likely birth year, her hometown. And from there, they found her Facebook. They used forgot password on her email. They answered 3 questions based on the very thing she had posted. And just like that, they were in. Elise lost access to her email, then her PayPal, then her cloud, then her hospital HR portal. It took months to recover. But what shook her most was that she had shared everything with love. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't oversharing out of ego. She was just being herself. And that's what makes this so dangerous, because we think good intentions protect us, but they don't. Intentions don't stop consequences. The Stoics knew this. They taught that awareness was the highest form of strength, that wisdom was not about fear, but about clarity. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But here's the twist. In a world of identity theft, what you imagine isn't always worse than what happens. Sometimes you imagine safety, while danger walks right through the front door, disguised as nostalgia. So how do you protect yourself? You start small, you review your posts, you look at every About Me section, every biography, every old tweet, every blog you forgot you wrote. You ask, Does this reveal a password hint? Does this sound like a security answer? Could someone use this to impersonate me? If yes, you delete it. No second guessing, just delete. Next, you reframe how you talk about your past. Instead of, "My first dog Max was the best," you say, "I've always loved animals." Instead of naming your elementary school, you talk about my early years in a small town. Instead of posting that cute baby pic with your birth year on the banner, you crop it. You don't lie. You limit. Because limiting what others know is protecting what you are. Think about your digital life like a puzzle, and every post you make is a piece. At first, no one sees the big picture, but with enough time, enough scrolling, enough screenshots, they'll build the full image, and you won't know until it's too late. The Stoics believed in control, not of the world, but of the self. You can't stop people from watching, but you can stop feeding them material. You can choose to be a riddle, not a profile. You can be visible and still untouchable. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them scroll forever and still not know who you truly are. That's real strength. That's real privacy. That's real power. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Your story matters, but not everyone deserves access to every chapter, especially not the ones that can be used to become you. Now you've heard the 5 secrets, and hopefully something in you has shifted. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's power. Whatever it is, hold on to it, because awareness isn't paranoia, it's survival. And the more you live by that truth, the more untouchable you become. You've made it to the end. And that means something. Because most people, they scroll, they click, they forget. But you stayed. You listened. Not just to my words, but to something deeper inside you. That quiet voice that said, "Maybe I've been too exposed and didn't even realize it." We live in a time where we give ourselves away one detail at a time. A post here, a caption there, a conversation that felt safe until it wasn't. And somewhere along the way, we traded privacy for validation, safety for attention, silence for applause. But now, you know better. 5 secrets. That's all it took to realize how much we've been leaving on the table. How much power we've handed over without question. Not because we were foolish, but because we were trying to connect, to belong, to feel seen. But the Stoics would remind us, not all connection is wisdom, and not all visibility is strength. True strength is being grounded in what you don't need to prove. So now what? You pause, you protect, you rebuild. You look at the stories you've shared and decide which ones were sacred all along. You become slower to speak, sharper to post, quieter, but never weaker. You stop living for the audience and start living for the essence. Because you're not just building a digital life, you're building a fortress, a code, a life that is intentional, stoic, and unshakable. If this video resonated with you, don't just scroll away. Act. Audit your online footprint. Revisit what you've shared. Talk less. Watch more. Hold your story like a sacred book, not a public scroll. And if you want more content that strengthens your inner fortress, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because this channel isn't about fear, it's about freedom. The kind of freedom that comes from knowing what to protect and when to be silent. Thank you for watching. And remember, the less they know, the more you own.